Game time now. Taylor Corn in Auburn. I'm in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Just finished off a 107-79 win over Oklahoma in what was back-to-back games for Auburn and Alabama to start SEC play. We'll get to the one we just saw here in Tuscaloosa and the one you guys first finished. But let's start with the number 2 team in the country, who opened up the SEC season at home as well against Missouri. Bruce Pearl set a little record today. We'll talk about that. All of our coverage brought to you by mybookie.ag, mybookie.ag. Taylor, you were there in Neville Arena for yet another sellout of a little over 9,100 Auburn fans on a Saturday that saw Auburn win the game 84-68. I'd say it wasn't Auburn's A game, but it was good enough to beat Missouri badly. It was never in doubt.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It was by far, it was closer to the sloppiest game that I've seen them play than it was to the cleanest. But then when I started looking at numbers after the game, I was kind of mind blown because they shot their best percentage from 3. Johni Broome again had double digits before halftime. And exiting the game, I was like, these numbers aren't going to be great. I was expecting our offensive and defensive efficiency numbers to drop a decent amount just because, like you said, it was not their cleanest game at all. But at this time of year, win's a win's a win. And it's going to be, not every game can be your best. It's going to be a long conference season. So I'm sure they have a lot to clean up, and I'm sure there are some things that Bruce is not happy about. But at the end of the day, they walked away with a win.
We'll get to the post-game comments from Bruce Pearl. Grant Nelson walking by us here right now, giving us a wave. We saw him out at the Final Four last year. I would say this about Auburn today. You know what they look like to me today? They look like a team that is so good that they got a little bored with the competition today and got a little sloppy at the end. When that's when the turnovers, the part I was watching today, it looked like the turnovers really started to stack up late in the game when they realized that it wasn't going to be a game, that Missouri couldn't keep up. And that's when they got a little sloppy to me. I don't think there's anything to be concerned about with the season high turnovers today at all. It looked like a team to me that is so good that they sort of got bored with the competition today a little bit.
I don't know what it was, but it was one of those games where there's no rhythm. There were so many fouls being called. There was a point, and I cannot remember, I think it was the second half, that there were 4 fouls called. They were all on Auburn within the span of 50 seconds, 59 seconds, less than a minute. And there's no rhythm. It's hard for anyone to get into a rhythm when plays being stopped so frequently. So I don't think that helped. But yeah, the turnovers were an issue, and I'm sure that will be discussed at length after this game by the coaching staff. But Johni Broome, again, I didn't think it was his best game at all. He got into foul trouble late there at the end, but he led the team in scoring with 24 points. It's a good thing when they play that sloppy and they can beat a talented Missouri team that is physical. It was chippy. It was a chippy game.
Let's take your comments throughout the show as well. Stan writes in, Auburn looked like a team that peaked already or on their way down. I don't believe that to be the case at all. I think I'm pretty dead on. Not that I'm always right, but I think I'm pretty dead on with this one, that the team was just playing an inferior opponent and they got a little bored with the competition. In the game we just saw, Smuff is saying, I'm pretty sure that the Bama game featured more dunks today than any given season under Mark Gottfried. A very different style of ball, the high post offense. Alabama won this one in the paint today and just being more physical than Missouri. We'll get back to that game coming up in a moment, but you can comment whether you're watching us on YouTube, on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere, mybookie.ag. Bringing us our post game today, Little T in Auburn. I'm here in Tuscaloosa at the conclusion of the Alabama game. Let's go first down at Auburn with this. Bruce Pearl has tied Joel Eves with 213 wins as the Auburn coach. Bruce has a lot more wins than that, but he has 213 at Auburn. He is now tied for the winningest coach in Auburn basketball history. He'll have a chance against Texas in the next game to become the winningest coach in Auburn basketball history. It's only a matter of when, and likely it's the next game. You're an Auburn grad. Bruce Pearl is your winningest coach of all time now. He was very humble about it afterwards, though, as Bruce always is.
Yeah, he was. And something that I realized after the game was that he did it in 3 less seasons. And you'll have this discussion a week or 2 ago debating whether he's the best coach in Auburn athletics history, which that's a conversation for another time. But from where he began in terms of where the program was to what he's built it into, I feel like he knows what he needs, he knows what kind of players he wants, and he's been able to find that. Obviously, some seasons have been more successful than others, but the development of the guys from that have come from JUCO teams has been incredible. And I was looking through the roster the other day, and I think there are only 2 or 3 guys that were highly ranked coming out of high school that are on this roster right now. A lot of them were not ranked coming out of high school. And so that was something that was interesting to me, was what he's been able to do with the talent that he's brought in, or the talent that he sees, the potential that he sees in these guys that come through the transfer portal.
We'll give you credit because you brought up Denver Jones in the basketball show the other night that hopefully all of you guys listened to on your way to the games in whichever arena you're going to today. You can always get it on our YouTube channel and everywhere else that you get us, both video and audio wise. We'll have another one dropping for you for your drive-in Monday, reflecting on this weekend. But you called out Denver Jones as a guy that is exceeding your expectations. He goes 7 assists today, distributing the basketball, and I assume today continue for him to exceed your expectations. This is the Denver Jones Auburn will need when they get to the tournament.
Yeah, and something that has been talked about, I can't remember if I heard it on a broadcast or where, is that his shooting percentage is so high is because his shot selection is incredible. He's not just pulling up and shooting from wherever on the court. He's distributing the ball well. And that is something that was talked about post game, was they feel like they have such a great bond. The guys on the team really love each other. So they share the ball. And I think that his shot selection is he's not shooting unless he feels like he's going to hit the shot. And that's obviously paid off because his percentage from 3 has been incredible over the past 4 or 5 games, but he's picky with the shots that he takes.
He is, and that really helps you a lot. One more in Auburn, then we'll touch Alabama, and then we'll get into the comments from both sides of the ball here. But the other thing I wanted to bring up for Auburn is that today, what was it, 10 threes? And I watched this team play, and I've told you from day one, for the first time I saw them this year, that I thought their team defense would be what would help them win a championship this year if there's a championship in their future. That team defense is so elite. But they really melt the other team's defense with their passing, their unselfishness, the ability to work the ball around the perimeter. They had 10 threes today, and they all seemed to be really good looks, not forced three-pointers. I thought it was a good day shooting from beyond the arc for Auburn today.
It was, and I think that's something. It was their highest 3-point percentage game of the season so far. And I think that's something that they've lacked in seasons past. Auburn's had pretty good defenses, and they played well defensively tonight. Prior to this game, Missouri had scored 75-plus points in every single game. Auburn held them to 68. But the shooting, you have so many offensive weapons. I feel like in seasons past, there have been times where you rely so heavily on 1 or 2 guys to hit shots, and if their shot's not falling, if they're having an off night, that kind of puts you in a sticky situation. But they have so many guys that can hit shots that, that hasn't been an issue to this point in the season. There's obviously a lot of basketball left to play, but I think that's something they've struggled with in the past. And a lot of guys have, you didn't know what you could expect from Todd Pettiford. He's a freshman, so you didn't know what you were going to get from him. He's been pretty productive in big games. And then, like we've talked about, Denver Jones' development has been incredible. I think Chaney went one of 1 from 3. So they just have options. Miles Kelly, it's pick your poison.
Yeah, I agree. So Auburn's got Texas next road game. Alabama's on the road for their second SEC game, but they opened up here against Oklahoma. And I know because of the way the SEC network and ESPN lays out these games, you probably didn't get to sit in front of the television and catch this game until the start of the second half because of The way the 3 o'clock game bled into the 5 o'clock game, the 5 o'clock game bleeds into the 7 o'clock game. We've got to start figuring out these SEC games aren't going to last 2 hours. They're going to last 2 hours and 15 minutes, 2 hours and 20 minutes. So let's get that right, ESPN. We've got 17 more SEC dates ahead. Let's figure out these games aren't going to be 2 hours. Would you give me an amen on that?
Please, because I couldn't keep up. I'm banking on you to carry this because I'm trying to get out of the parking deck to get to a TV to watch it, and the game's halfway over. I mean, I was getting notifications on my phone about the game before Auburn still has 5 minutes left to play.
Yeah.
So not great.
I hate that little yellow box on ESPN or the SEC network that says the next game, the one you also want to watch because you're watching this, but you also want to watch the next one.
Yep.
Everybody wants to watch every SEC basketball game because it's going to be so good this year. And it says, during the Auburn game, it said Oklahoma and Alabama is starting on,
ESPN News
Plus,
or something.
or
yeah,
ESPN News or ESPN2. So let's figure it out, guys. Let's space these games out a little bit. But here, Alabama just dominated Oklahoma, who came in this thing undefeated, 13-0. They had beaten Michigan. Listen, 86 points is what Michigan scored in Oklahoma. Nobody else really scored over 77 against this Oklahoma team. Alabama just dropped a $107 on them and had the end of the bench in the game, the final 2 minutes and 40 seconds of the contest. Alabama had their way with this Oklahoma team. And quad one win right now, I think, on the thing you told me the other day. It will not be a quad one, I don't think, by the time you get to the end of the year. This is one of those teams in Oklahoma that I think will slowly start to drop out of the top 25. They'll drop out of the quad one. I think they'll end up being a quad two team when it was all said and done. But it was the way you wanted to dominate this team. Here's my first couple of things I want to throw out there. The usual stars were the usual stars. But first off, Mo Diabate, who was put into the game early in the contest, like in the first couple of minutes of the game, he was put in there to guard the super freshman for Oklahoma and Jeremiah Fears. And at the 8-minute and 14-second mark of the first half, Fears had 0 points. He averages 18 a game. And Diabate and Philon and Nelson and Jarrett Stevenson just outsized this guy. They put big men on him, and he had 0 points at 8-14. I don't know what he ended up with. But it was nowhere close to 18 points in this game. And the defense on him early on sort of took Oklahoma out of their comfort zone. And the other thing I wanted to bring up was Cliff Amore, because I mentioned him in our show the other night that he was one of the guys that to me was not meeting expectations yet.
Same.
And you brought him up. And you talked about Grant Nelson yelling just to my right here, yelling at him, move, Cliff, move, Cliff. Cliff moved tonight, got double figures. Not just offensively, he moved defensively. He was physical in there. And the biggest cheer in this sold-out arena tonight, 15,000 fans, the biggest cheer came when there was a scramble for the ball. He was fighting for it. It was going around on the ground. He came out with it, put it up into the basket for 2, and then started sprinting down the field to play defense. He didn't even hear the whistle that had blown when it was all being scrambled for on the ground. So play was dead before he even went up and put it into the hole. But he put it into the hole and was so into what he was doing, he put it in the hole and started sprinting down the court to play defense. And Philon had to grab him by the jersey at midcourt to tell him the play was dead. And the crowd, Philon started doing the money sign to the whole crowd here. And you had 15,000 fans come to their feet because Amore was so dialed in and was putting forth the effort and finally looked like the physical presence that these guys want him to be down the road. That was a big moment in the game, and they'll need Amore to be more of that as the season progresses.
That's what you mentioned, Gilbert and Philon, and that was the majority of what I heard once I was able to get in front of a TV and watch the game. He has been consistent. He's been consistent and so impressive.
He's good at both ends, Taylor. He's good defensively. He's good offensively. He's good assisting the basketball. He's sneaky good at getting rebounds with his size. I mean, he may be, I mean, I'm not an NBA scout, though I was mistaken for one coming in today. I think I think he's got an NBA future in him. LeBaron Philon is the real deal. Double figures everywhere today. Sears had 22. Philon had 16. Amori had 10. Nelson had a double-double. Good game for him. Holloway had 10 coming in late. So had a couple players at 9. Just good for Alabama in their win today. Why don't you take us through a couple of comments and then we'll get everybody on their road on a Saturday night. Remember, though, our show brought to you by a couple of folks, mybookie.ag, promo code next round, gets you into the game. And right here, roback.com, promo code TNR20 gets you 20% off your order at roback.com. I'm at Coleman Coliseum. Taylor's down at Auburn. It's the first of 17, 18, 20, 22, 24 live postgame shows that we will do this regular season on Saturdays and even after weekday road games. We'll be at every home SEC game, home in Tuscaloosa and in Auburn. And then after the road games, like while we're frozen in here, Alabama and Auburn will be on the road, and we'll connect here on this platform to talk with you guys afterwards for the post game. So what do we have in the chat room? Any comments there that we want to get to?
You kind of touched on this earlier. I'm trying to find it real quick. But just as a blanket statement, what Stan said, Auburn looks like they peaked already and are on their way down. Not in terms of Auburn, but in terms of the, peaking too early. That narrative. How much do you believe in that? Because it's very early in the season. They didn't have a bad game, but how much do you think that? Yeah.
I believe in it. I believe just using Auburn as an example, the Walker and Jabari team.
Yeah.
I think in end of January, maybe the 1st of February, I think maybe they were the best team in the country that year. And I think by the end of the year, when they got to the NCAA tournament, they didn't have gas. I think last year's Auburn team, maybe they peaked in Nashville. They definitely peaked in Nashville and had a flat game against Yale, and things didn't go their way. Did you hear what Dennis Gates said though today, the Missouri coach, after the game? Did you see his quote? His quote was, "That team is a complete team," and then he said, "It reminds me of the Virginia team that lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament, and the next year they went on to win the national championship." Auburn could follow that same lead of losing in the first round. And right now, they're considered the best team in the country, despite what the AP poll says. Seth Greenberg today, I know you missed this because you were already in Neville Arena, but it was at halftime of the Kentucky-Florida game. And Seth Greenberg said, Auburn is by far the most dominant team in college basketball. They can play fast. They can play slow. They can play inside. They can play outside. Most complete team. And then the other analyst on the desk says, Seth, are you ready to say Auburn or the field for the national championship? And he said, not yet, but I may get there by the time you get to March. So that's how good they're playing. So to Stan's point, there can be a peaking early if you don't play to this kind of level down the road. But this team has got all the makings of being a national champion right now. But, I watched Tennessee today, and I've been easy to sort of push Tennessee aside and put Auburn ahead of them. But I watched Tennessee just manhandle Arkansas at home today. And that Tennessee team is really good. This Alabama team is really good. Right now, I put Auburn, then Tennessee, Alabama, probably in that order, 1, 2, 3. Florida and Kentucky played a hell of a basketball game today. So entertaining. But I still put them 4 and 5 in this conference that's headed to have 12 teams. I think one of the best X's and O coaches in the league is over at Mississippi State. Arkansas has got some holes that sort of popped up today at Tennessee. It's going to be a fun league. And as we talked about on the basketball show, there is a good chance that you're going to have to be comfortable with your great basketball team losing 4 or 5 games in a tremendous league. Bruce said it in the postgame. He was talking about how it was this team is so, they asked him about going on the road in the SEC, and he goes, I feel like it won't impact us. I feel like we can win on the road, just like we can lose here at Neville Arena. He thinks the league is that good. And, doing what Alabama and Auburn did today, what Tennessee did today, what Kentucky did today, defending the home court will be important if you want to be the SEC regular season champion. but you're also going to have to go on the road and get some wins as well.
Okay, the Auburn Alabama games this season are going to be so entertaining, and for a multitude of reasons. I feel like the past few years, I mean, it's a rivalry game, so crazy things happen, but there's been a better team. This year, I don't think that Alabama's playing their best basketball yet. And then there's the added, not narrative, but storyline of Aiden Holloway leaving Auburn, going to Alabama, saying the sold a dream thing. That's going to be another level of motivation probably from the Auburn side of things. He's going to want to show Auburn what he's capable of, what he didn't, get to show last year. But those games are going to be there'll be one for the books.
Yeah, I personally can't wait for those games. I don't want to wish the season away. I will tell you this: first guy on the floor. I like to get places early, way too early. I guess it's the old man in me now, but so I'm here in the arena. I barely am right behind the security team here today, and then the first guy out to shoot. I think it was. I'm not even sure they'd started the clock on the scoreboard yet. First guy out on the floor to shoot for Alabama. Not the team doesn't run out. Just first guys come out and just get shots up was Aiden Holloway, closely followed by Mark Sears, followed by Grant Nelson. And those three were out there by themselves for a long time. And they were just putting up shots, shot after shot after shot after shot. And I think that tells you a little something about Aiden Holloway, the work he's putting in on his shot right now. And he didn't play as big of a factor in this game as he's played in some of the big games already this year. It'll be interesting to watch how he's able to control his composure in those two games. First one's here in Tuscaloosa, I believe, and then the second one, the last one, is down at Auburn. The one at Auburn is the one it'll be hard for him to control his emotions here. It's the one down there where he'll be the focal point of the jungle and that crowd at Neville Arena. That's the one I worry the most about for him, staying within himself. But these two basketball teams, it'll be two great games, but they are so much bigger than playing each other this year. Their potential, I don't even know how I can describe what I'm trying to say here, but Auburn may sweep the series, Alabama may sweep the series, they may split, they may play again at the SEC tournament. I don't know what will happen, but what these teams can become is so much bigger than the Auburn-Alabama rivalry. And I joked with you, and I think I joked with EG about this. It seems fitting at where these two programs have grown now that if they play three times counting in Nashville, it is almost fitting that there would be a fourth time at the Final Four site. And that would be the one that would be like, okay, it's worthy of what these two teams are, that they're going to play like Duke and North Carolina did a couple of years ago in the Final Four against each other. Now that would be drama.
That would be the battle of composure. Who can keep their cool?
Oh my God. And fan bases. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, those fan bases sell out football stadiums all the time.
Dunaway.
All the time, right? Oh, you and I, our relationship would be over. But those fan bases are used to selling out football stadiums. It would be such a hard ticket, that Final Four, selling out that football stadium if Auburn and Alabama were both there, and especially if they were playing in the semifinals or had a chance to play for the national championship. Oh my! I don't have an emoji face to come up with that. It would just be so good, so awesome.
It would be so good. That's what someone mentioned earlier. I can't find it, but someone mentioned them meeting in the championship game of the SEC tournament. And then there was another comment saying, I'm predicting that 3 of the 4 Final Four teams will be SEC teams, and it'll be an all SEC national championship game. And obviously that's going to depend on how the seeding works out and where in the brackets these teams fall. But imagine history. Yeah. We would be witnessing history.
Couple more comments if they're there. A couple more points I wanted to make today. As I said, that Florida-Kentucky game was really good to watch in the SEC. Kentucky's good. They play a different style than they played under Calipari. But don't think because Florida lost today, that's not a good basketball team. They have size and great guard play too. Tennessee, I don't know what it is, but Tennessee just they officials officiate games differently when Tennessee is playing. I guess you have to, or it'd be all fouls. But things that were fouls, things that were fouls here today in this game, probably in your game too, they don't call in the Tennessee game. They let Tennessee get away with that, and they just manhandled Arkansas today. And when I'm done with you here, I'm going to watch a little of this Texas A&M game in College Station. I'm sure that's a zoo that's underway. A couple more comments, and we'll wrap it up here. Again, mybookie.ag, and of course, at Next Round Live, all of our platforms. Thumbs up, like, and follow. And our new podcast drops again Sunday night, Monday morning. Taylor and I will break down the whole weekend and look ahead to game 2 of the SEC season. I don't want it to go as fast as football season has gone. I want it to be a nice, slow burn all season long.
And H3425, the Pettiford versus Phylon matchup is going to be legit. Two of the best freshmen in the country.
I mean, guys, we can sit here and count down every day if we just want to do a podcast every day, waiting for that Alabama-Auburn matchup. There's so much good greatness before we get there. It's like having great appetizers, great entree, great sides, and we're all waiting for that dessert. Let's don't wish away everything else for the dessert. But I mean, you can go across matchups all along. I think Johni Broome is the difference maker in that game. Can Johni Broome be Johni Broome in that game? And if he can, I don't think Alabama has anything that can match Johni Broome up. Other than that, everywhere else, I think you can find pieces and parts where Alabama and Auburn can match up each other and make everything pretty even. It's Johni Broome, I think, that can be the difference in those games.
Well, this could play a factor in that. Big Cliff was the only guy I've seen, quote unquote, slacking, but he showed up tonight. And that's something that you touched on earlier. Yeah. Yesterday, 2 days ago, whenever we talked last, that was my guy he was not, or what was the term that we used?
Not meeting expectations.
Yeah, not meeting expectations. And it seems as if he proved me wrong tonight. So he's probably taking a step in the right direction. I mean, it's the chemistry. It takes time to build chemistry when you're bringing in guys from the transfer portal for every team. So it may have just taken him a little longer to adjust, adapt, get used to the guys that he's playing with now, and get comfortable.
Yeah, it's different. It's a different style. It is so outside shooting. It is so run, shoot, run, shoot. He's a big guy. And you can get caught up being a step slower than everybody on the floor. But he absolutely got after it today. Little Grant Nelson here, having a little time with a couple of little fans as he heads back into the locker room. Hey, Grant Nelson. Couple of Alabama players coming back out to say hi to family and friends as they start to close down Coleman Coliseum here. Any more thoughts before we get out of here?
We've got two good basketball teams in the state of Alabama.
Yeah, we knew that, right? We knew that. And,
we did.
I would imagine that you've been to Neville all season long, and today probably felt a little different because it was SEC play, right? Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, they've done a great job of packing that place out. The tickets are hard to come by, so when you can find one, people are taking advantage of that. So the environment was great. The difference that I saw tonight that I hadn't seen, I mean, I'm sure it's happened in games past, but I feel like it's so much more evident when you're in person, I thought that there were going to be some flagrants. If the second half didn't, or the first half didn't end when the first half ended, things were getting very, 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 very chippy. The bench and Johni, there was a lot of back and forth. The Missouri head coach had some words for the officials. That was the most tense I've seen it. In terms of players and players. And that's how it's going to be all season, or all conference play, because every team's a good team.
Yeah, that much separates every team, it seems like. So, and trust me, after what we just saw in SEC football, I think we're all ready for the SEC to look dominant in basketball like they have in the pre-conference. Now we're going to bang heads against each other, and it should be a fun season. All right. The basketball show is all we're calling it. We're keeping it simple. the basketball show. Look forward to either Sunday night or Monday morning, wherever you get our podcast, video cast, audio. It'll be out there for you. The basketball show, Taylor Corn, Jim Dunaway from Auburn and Tuscaloosa today. And then we'll have live shows coming up after the midweek games this week. So set your alerts so you can jump in and chat with us after the games all year long. Look forward to doing this all the way to Nashville and the NCAA tournament. So for Taylor, I'm Jim. Any last words? You spending the night in Auburn? You gonna have a party, dinner, rolling
Yep.
tubers? What's on
I'm
your agenda?
not going to Tumor's Corner. I am about to go to dinner. About to
All
go
right.
to dinner, and yes, I'm staying here tonight.
I'm about to go to dinner. EG actually came to the game today.
Oh,
So
fun.
she wanted to see the building. So her and Georgia Band was here and they took in the game. So I think we're gonna go meet for drinks and then head back to the
Okay,
house. So
fun. I'm going to
so
Texas Roadhouse.
what now?
I'm going to Texas Roadhouse.
Oh, that doesn't that doesn't sound like acres at all.
It's not.
You're mispronouncing acres.
No, it's not Acre, but
Yeah.
it's gonna be a fun experience.
Yeah. Tell me it's not a date. Like nobody's taking
No.
you to Texas Roadhouse, right?
I'm sitting in my college roommate's kitchen right now. She lives here
Okay.
now. I'm sitting in
All
her
right.
and her husband's kitchen, and I don't know. It's down the street, so we're just going.
No, I eat at Texas Roadhouse, so I'm not gonna call names. I'd kill for
Yeah, you can call a name.
Yeah, I'll kill for those rolls right now. All right, Taylor Corn, Jim Dunaway, a lot of laps this year. Winning days for Auburn and Alabama, and we'll see you on the basketball show Sunday night or Monday morning whenever you watch us. Thanks, everybody. Good night.
See y'all.